All right, everybody, thank you. I know we're limited on time, and there's a packed agenda here. We're going to try to get through this as quickly as possible. So maybe we just do introductions, and we'll do roll call as we go along. So I'm Monterey County Supervisor Luis Alejo, Chair of the Lead Me Home Leadership Council.
Mike Labar, Mayor of King City.
Roxanne Wilson, County Homeless Services Director.
Zulika Morgan, Executive Director, Housing Authority, Monterey County.
Lori Medina, Director of Social Services for County of Monterey.
Donna Smith, Monterey County Office of Education, Homeless Children and Youth Services Program Coordinator.
Ian Oglesby, Mayor of the City of Seaside.
Alyssa Kroger, Housing Program Manager, City of Pacific Grove.
Alexa Johnson, Executive Director for the Housing Resource Center of Monterey County.
Kurt Shockey.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Kurt Shockey, Executive Director of Veterans Transition Center.
And Greg Baker, Executive Director, Community Homeless Solutions. Also here, Javier Gomez with Supervisor Alejo.
Tim Heaven, Access Support Network.
Lopez, Central California Alliance for Health.
Anyone else?
Yeah, David Kilburn, Executive Director of Access Support Network.
And Cindy Georger with Homeless Services, CAO's office, no member of Roxanne Wilson's team.
Nice.
Laura Clayton, I'm here with Monterey County Behavioral Health.
All right, hopefully other board members join us. Do we have a quorum, Katrina?
We just made quorum. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, everybody. If we get anybody else, they'll introduce themselves later. Any additions or modifications to the agenda? Or we're good?
All right.
Oh, we're good to go, Katrina?
Yep.
Nothing to add or modify?
Nope. Not on my end.
Okay, let's just take care of public comments for items not on today's agenda. If any of our board members or members of the public would like to comment on anything not on the agenda, we'll give a couple of minutes to do that. But seeing no hands raised, let's go to item number 4, approval of the minutes from April 24th and May 22nd. We'll come back to you, Wes. Don't worry. Okay, we got you. Let's approve the minutes. We got a motion and a second.
Second.
Oh, did we already have a motion? Sorry, I didn't hear it.
You need a motion and a second.
I'll motion.
Okay. And second by Tim Heaven.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Can I ask that California Rural Legal Assistance, that the name of the agency please be corrected in the minutes?
Okay. We'll make sure that happens.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. Any against or any abstentions? With that correction, we'll deem the minutes approved unanimously. Let's go to back to Wes. You want to make a public comment, Wes?
Yes, thank you. Wes Wyatt, Salinas, Monterey County Homeless Union Co-President. Just checking in because there's supposed to be a Supreme Court case decision, Johnson versus Grants Pass, that could possibly make a situation a lot worse for everywhere within the 9th District, which is all the western states, including California. And we're still trying to make sure people are legitimate. People who are on public property, they're at this point, I believe it's still legal. They're lawful that jurisdictions are supposed to post a notice and give at least 3 days. I remember our position paper on sweeps with the Coalition of Homeless Service Providers. States you're supposed to try to connect people with services and exhaust every means of mitigating issues rather than just evicting them and taking people's possessions. So hopefully we're looking at that a little more intensely. I know the lead committee has been working on something to help validate people, give people dignity, decency, and dominion over their own life. and a little bit of personal area somewhere, anywhere, an address. You know, an address is also needed for folks if they're trying to get medical services, and a residential address, not just a mailing address. So we need to validate people, and these are our lifelong residents. They need to live a long, fruitful life, and we need to give them every opportunity to do so. And I hope the Leadership Council will help make that happen in the coming months. It's stopping the sweeps, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you for raising that. It's a case we're all looking at. It should come out, I thought today, but probably later this week. We're looking at the Boise case that we're all aware of. Seeing no one else, let's go back to the agenda. Now we're going to jump into, we have quite a few items to go through, so and we're going to pass it to Katrina, and there's a few more items under 5 regarding funding.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Supervisor. We sent you all the updated NOFO policies and procedures that has been updated for our 2024 HUD competition. In the read-ahead packet, there were some few changes in there, and we have restructured and added some content, added our local application process that will be replacing eSnaps and in-person oral interview process. We've made these changes to streamline the process for our HUD competition. It usually is a very strenuous, long day for our ranking reviewers. So we're trying to alleviate some of that burden as these are all volunteers. We have updated our letter of intent process, and we've also invited home base here to be here to answer any additional questions you may have had while reviewing the policies and procedures that we sent out last Friday. So we're looking here today to get a motion to approve this updated policies and procedures, and we're here to answer any questions should you have any. And then Elaine, also if there's anything that I missed and you want to add on.
Elaine, anything to add?
I don't think so. You've highlighted it. Katrina, do we have any slides on it, or just it's just the title slide?
It's just a title slide, but I can show the actual policies and procedures. It is a lengthy document, though, so I just didn't want to bore anybody with it.
I don't think
to pull it to review it.
I don't think it's necessary.
Let's go to questions or comments on this. That if any of the board members want to ask questions or comments, it's time to do so. Let's go to Roxanne.
It's focus, right? Not home base.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Did I say that? Focus,
you did. It's okay.
Here. I'm so sorry, everybody.
I just have one quick question about it. There is a part that says that you guys will not be reviewing and ranking applications that are incomplete. Is that only for the applications that are new and not for renewals? Or does that include renewals? Because it wasn't very clear to me in either document that you guys provided.
Yes, I would say for new projects, but we do have focus strategies here that has been helping us with the policies and procedures, if you guys have any additional insight on that. I would assume that just renewal projects that were incomplete will just be scored lower.
Yeah, as long as all the application has all of the required components, if there's incomplete responses, like if they don't fully respond to something, that's how they'll be scored appropriately based on what they provide. But that was intended to apply to both new and renewal applications. But as far as renewal applications, the APR data and pieces will be pulled by the HSP. And so for them, it will just be a matter of the responses that they provide. And if they leave things blank or don't fully answer, they'll still be accepted. It was more if there's a full component missing from their application.
So to clarify, if there's a full component that is missing for a renewal application, then they will automatically be disqualified, or they're going to, because the way it's phrased, it's that we're not reviewing them at all.
That is the, this is Elaine, that is how the policy is written, and I think the intention is to communicate that expectation multiple times to renewing applicants, that they need to meet the deadline and they need to submit a complete application. So that is the current intention of the design of the policies, is that renewing applicants would have the responsibility to return in their application on time and turn in one that has all the components.
So my concern, just for the record, is that the HUD COC application is very complicated. And we have a lot of new agencies that had just gotten funded for the first time. So there are organizations like Interim, they've been doing this so much, they know exactly what to do. And then you have organizations that are really like smaller organizations, and entering into the federal funding stream game is very different. So I do ask that you guys are monitoring them throughout the process so that by time it closes, they did have a chance to fix that. I'm thinking about equity. I'm thinking about making sure that small organizations are not scared to go for COC money.
Roxanne, to speak to that concern a little bit, maybe the local application actually replacing the eSNAPs as part of the local competition. So there is a new application that is going to be used this year for renewal and new projects that is intended to be more user-friendly, more streamlined. It has narrative responses in it to kind of allow for newer folks to express what they're trying to do as a project and all of those pieces, so that then when it comes to those that are prioritized, submitting the eSNAPs, there'll be this first process and then eSNAPs after the local competition.
Great.
Thank you.
Great to hear that, Roxanne. Thank you for raising that. Very good point. Let's go to Tim Heaven.
I also just wanted to offer that, the lead board, we're always open to pre-reviewing any grant applications as well, just for any organizations out there that want to utilize that opportunity.
I love that. A pre-review. I love that. Thank you, Tim.
And I just want to also, Elaine, again say, I love that in of how the COC and the organizations incorporate the expertise of people with lived experience. So the offer by the lead to look at those, the application as a whole, but that narrative response particularly would be really useful to applicants to take advantage of that. Because there will be an essay question or a narrative question on incorporating the experience of people with lived expertise. So go to those experts.
Great. If there's no further questions, we could entertain a motion to approve the HUD COC NOFO competition policies and procedures. Do you have a motion and a second?
I'll move approval. This is Robin McRae.
Thank you, Robin. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Roxanne. Okay, all those in favor, if you could please say aye.
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 Those against? Any abstentions? Okay, we'll deem that approved by unanimous vote. Let's go to the next item. We're going to pass this to Kayshla Lopez. She's bringing back the HCD ESG funding amendment and reallocation for the city of Salinas.
Kayshla, would you like to share screen?
I don't have a formal PowerPoint presentation, but I can definitely share the recommended spreadsheet if that's helpful for visual purposes.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So thank you everyone for your time. I won't take too much of your time. I know I have 5 minutes. So the City of Salinas is responsible for the state ESG funding allocation. We are currently trying to spend down fiscal year 2022. We have until November 7th of this year to spend it down. And so where we are is we're reconciling all the funding that has been spent to date, and we are needing Leadership Council's approval to make some amendments in order to ensure that these funds are spent by November 7th. And so what the ask is to amend our current agreement with Cecil for rapid rehousing and emergency shelter. This is what they were awarded, which was $133,000. We need to shift $65,000 over to another agency to ensure that this gets spent down. And so there is a moving of specifically the rapid rehousing component. So it was $114 with Cecil. We're asking to split it, $49,000 to stay with Cecil and $65,000 to go to another agency that can spend this fund by October 31st.
Anybody in mind for that other agency, Kayshla, or are you still searching for that partner?
Yeah, so we have contacted the coalition to see what agencies needed funding through that were declined during HAP, and Downtown Streets Team was one of the agencies that was severely who did not receive the full funding amount for rapid rehousing. So we elected to go with them as part of their high ranking and their current city partners as well. So we figured we'd just continue with this project.
Perfect. Great. Other questions from our board? See none. I want to thank City Salinas for being the administrator of this grant. We appreciate that leadership. If there's no questions or comments, then we could entertain the motion. This is one of the examples of us making sure that we're providing some oversight to make sure we're spending down these dollars before the deadlines come around and not return money to the state. So we need a motion and a second to approve these.
Barrow make that motion.
Thank you, Mayor.
Second.
Ian Oglesby, second. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those against or abstentions? Okay, seeing no, and none, we'll deem those approved by consensus. So let's go to 5C. This is the allocation policy.
Yeah, thank you so much, Supervisor. So again, our allocation policy was also attached to our board packet, and just seeing how you guys feel about it, and if you guys are ready to make a motion, or if there's any changes that you see that needs to be made.
If this is that policy we talked about extensively last meeting regarding making sure San Benito at least were entitled to their fair share of 15%, but that may change as the point in time count changes in the future. But that's what it is now. So this is just to kind of keep that clear in future rounds of HAP funding. Any questions or further discussion or questions on the policy?
No, Robin McCrae. I appreciate that it's a formal policy in writing. Thank you very much, Katrina and staff and Leadership Council. I'll move approval.
Thank you. And we got a second.
I'll second.
That was Tim. Thank you. Tim Heaven. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those against or abstentions? Seeing none.
I recuse myself.
Okay, Enrique will recuse himself for the minutes. Anyone else? Okay, we'll deem that approved by consensus or by unanimous vote. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Staff for working on that policy. We appreciate it. To have those clear guidance in the future. Let's go to the HAP updates, amendments, and reallocations.
Yes. So this is going to be a quick update until we have further information. CHSC is currently working with two organizations, Interim Incorporated and Step Up, on their current HAP projects. They are looking to do potential amendments to the actual service delivery. Now, the coalition staff are working with them to try to develop a comprehensive strategy in order for them to spend down and not risk changing their categories. So this is just a heads up that this might be coming down the line, and we might have to either reallocate the funds or do some amendments with the state of California. We have meetings scheduled for in the next 2 weeks to have that finalized, and the HSP will have a comprehensive update, perhaps 1 through 3, and their spend downs to inform you guys of any potential at-risk programs as far as not being able to spend down and prepare ourselves for any reallocation. So CHSP is also working closely with the County of Monterey in trying to look into other programs that might need funding and see if HAP can support that in the event reallocations need to be made. So that's just a quick update. Do you guys have any questions for me on that?
Don't see.
No? Okay.
Right.
So moving on to our point in time count.
I just wanted to tell people on this before, as an introduction, we met with our executive committee on the point in time count release. We want to set up a timeline for when we release it, how we release it, on messaging, and because it covers not only both counties, we're also sensitive that it's kind of important to also let our city partners, because there'll be a breakdown of city data. And so for the elected officials, we want to kind of in this process, hopefully give folks a heads up before it is released publicly, because it will generate questions and press. And so we're thoughtful about that. So we're just talking, I'll pass it to Katrina, but we thought about having a strategy of how this information is released out in public and to our city partners.
Yes, that was the full update. So thank you so much, Supervisor, for taking that one off my plate. I really appreciate that.
But do you want anything more about maybe what timeline are we thinking?
Yeah, so right now, ASR, Applied Survey Research, was supposed to have the draft census report to us on the 21st. We are still not in receipt of that document. So we're working with them to fine-line special acknowledgments and breaking city data down. We have already supplied them everything they need in order for this to get done. So we're waiting for them. We are, fingers crossed, hoping to have that report in hand by beginning of July and start meeting with the communications team so that we can have a full release of the report in August.
Great. And I think we brought in Nick Pascoli, who's our county communications person. So we're trying to get some of our county research to help Katrina and our board to be able to messages. But I think before the release, I think we want to have a discussion with this board fully about it, and then perhaps before release, maybe an opportunity to perhaps brief the elected officials. That's kind of the idea, and then shortly after that, be able to release it publicly to the press.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe we're thinking perhaps in early August time for release, but we will keep everyone updated.
Yes, thank you.
Any questions from the board? Okay, and we have been following how other counties and even some of the bigger cities, how they're releasing their point-in time count. Some have decreases, some have increases. So it's kind of good just to follow it to kind of see how other communities are responding with the ups or downs of their accounts.
Yeah. Thank you, Supervisor, for keeping us updated with all of the releases. informative, and we already have, people asking us for this data. So I know that you guys are all in need of it for grant renewals and new projects released. We are working really hard so that everybody can have these, but want to be very strategic and plan for us to launch these numbers.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to point out was that, as we know, with our point-in-time count, we've had reductions in the last 2 counts, so we've had some loss of funding. But the good news is there wasn't going to be a HAP round 6 in the state budget. Our assembly member, Robert Rivas, the speaker, in his version of the budget, they pushed back on the governor, and they actually put $1 billion, so there will be a HAP round 6. So we know that at least an additional round of funding is in the budget, and I believe it was signed by the governor today. But that's the good news, at least on the funding allocation side from the state.
Yes, and thank you to everybody who partnered up and submitting concerning letters to the government on really pressing out the need for continuous funding through HAP. So a round of applause to you all who joined the fight.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for that. Okay, let's go to next item, Lead Me Home Plan update.
Yes. So I know you guys are also really excited about this. We want to see what we're doing, what's working, what's not working, and how we can improve. So Focus Strategy, also on the line still with us, has been helping us build out our year 3 update and what we've done, what we've accomplished, and then planning for year 4. So there's going to be some sessions coming up that will request your support, community support, all the community members, to give feedback on what our next steps are going to be, what we can commit to in addressing homelessness in Monterey and San Benito counties. So there was a memo that went out to you talking about this with our timelines and activities. Can we get someone from Focus to jump on in and just go over what we sent out to them briefly?
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to chime in. Hi, everybody. It's good to see folks that I've seen before. I'm Vanessa Bentley. I'm the Manager of System Design and Development here at Focus Strategies. And our colleagues Hannah Gossett and Mandy Goff are supporting coalition staff and the COC with this process. And so really what we're looking at is completing what we're calling an addendum to the Lead Me Home plan that really incorporates the community feedback and your HAP 5 goals and the work that you did around that application into your community strategic plan. In addition to that, getting additional information about your accomplishments and achievements over the past year, and being able to develop a report of your year 3 progress on the Lead Me Home plan. And then there will also be some opportunities to engage around action steps for the future coming up a little bit later in the year. And so ultimately at the end of it, then you'll have a nice consolidated addendum to your strategic plan, that year 3 report, and then also that action plan looking forward to year 4.
Do you guys have any questions? So this was just an update. There's no action on this. Just wanted to keep you guys in the loop as we're moving through the process. We're looking to have you all approve our year 3 report in December, and alongside with our year 4 action plan. So there's going to be things coming down the line between now and December, moving this activity forward. So through October and November, we'll have 2 community feedback sessions. One with the full community to include stakeholders, leadership council, community members, and then another session for those with lived experience to get feedback from you all in moving this forward. So keep an eye out for meeting invites, flyers for for October and November. We'll probably put them out very soon. Thank you so much.
Right. If there's questions there, then we'll go to the next item, the annual summit. As you all know, we've done a summit twice, a summit on homelessness for Monterey and San Benito counties. They've been the first year was held all on Zoom during the pandemic, and then last year we were able to secure the Steinbeck Center to hold an in-person one. Well, actually, I think it was hybrid, but also both were very well attended. So Katrina's going to give us an update on this year's plan as well.
Yeah, so I have some big shoes to fill. My last predecessors had some really great summits. Our virtual summit had about 500 some odd attendees, and our in-person summit had about 330. And it when you think 500 and 300, it sounds like a huge difference, but it was a really huge event with over 28 speakers and 8 sessions. So I have very big shoes to fill. So thank you to those who came before me for making things super exciting. So we have we're going to reuse the Steinbeck Center. It's scheduled for October 17th. And there we will be holding the annual membership of the Leadership Council as well. So in the first 2 hours of the day, it's going to be the annual membership where we will be opening up any of the open seats, thanking those who have served and rotating the seats out and doing those elections there, solidifying our committee seats and all that. So you guys are all invited, and I just submitted my first sponsorship packet, so I'm really excited to start getting sponsors for this. If anybody is willing to join the sponsorship, the funding side of it, I could send you our sponsorship packet, and we can start getting it out to your connections. This event roughly costs about, a little under $20,000. I think because last year was our first year doing it, we had to buy a lot of new things. I think that this year, because we have most of the materials, we should be fine and it should be a little less. But if you guys are interested, reach out to me and I could, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send everybody the sponsorship packet with the people that I've already solicited, and then those who have partnered with us last year, so that we can probably try to make connections again. So, do you guys have any questions on that? This is also a picture of the summit. This was the lived experience discussion that we had last year.
Yeah, Katrina, I was just going to add though, I think on our side, Roxanne and I and the county, we put in a request to be one of the bigger sponsors for the summit. I want to certainly do that again. Last year I did reach out, I think, to Union Pacific. I think they contributed $5,000. I think Comcast, our cable company, contributed a smaller grant, I think $1,500. But I'll go to all those corporate sponsors again and do the same and try to ask some others to come in and support this as well. But I did want to make sure that we do reach out to as many elected officials, because they're the policymakers, right? And so if we go over the point in time count as well at the conference, I want to make sure that we're trying to bring in as many new elected leaders to be partners with us in addressing homelessness throughout the county. So we had a great turnout. I just thought we could have pulled in a few more elected officials. So I want to make sure we make a little bit more of an effort to make sure all the council members know that they're invited to be with us.
Of course, you're absolutely right.
Any other comments? Roxanne, you want to say anything? Because you were the leader you've been helping out on this the last few years.
Yeah, she was a huge help last year. So I'm hoping that Ms. Wilson would continue her support in partnering with putting this big event on.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to help. It's my baby. And last year we were able to leverage my relationships that I'm building, being a part of the Cal ICH advisory committee, And that's why we're able to get UCSF Benioff and USICH here and CalICH. So I have no problems reaching out to those folks again and also asking for referrals to other speakers. We went to NAEH. There was fantastic things happening at the NAEH one. I feel like there's a lot of energy still, and like I said, with HAP 6 coming around and CalAIM and behavioral health bridge housing, there's just so much going on that there's a lot to talk about, and I'm excited to help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one thing we did add last year was persons with lived experiences. For me, it was one of the best panels that I attended, and I think they did an excellent, outstanding job. And it was just good to have that point of view at our homelessness summit as well. So I know our organizers were intentional to make sure to include those voices, and I hope that continues this year.
Of course. Thank you.
Anyone else? Tim, go for it.
Yeah. So just so you guys know, like this is the first year that's the National Lived Experience Leadership Summit is going to be on the West Coast. So I've been helping with Destination Home and the National Alliance to End Homelessness to put on that. So I mean, I could probably try to get some, involvement from some of these people I've been working with to, for this conference this year. I'm hoping.
Thank you for that, Tim.
Yes, perfect.
Anyone else? I don't see any other hands raised, so we could close that item and go to our governance committee report. And this is Katrina. You gonna introduce this or Wes?
Yeah. So I'm gonna just prep it up. No, Wes, you could go on and jump in. Our governance committee has met, and Wes White is a member of our governance committee, and he's going to present an update or just speak about the update. Go ahead, take it away, Wes.
Sure. Okay, yeah, just giving an update on the governance work that we've done for the past couple months. You folks actually already mentioned the general membership being combined with the Leave Me Home Summit. So we'll be filling all our seats at that point, voting ourselves in. To take effect in January. So there will be new members, will be guests in the December meeting, get an official orientation in January, and be full voting members at the February meeting. And the initial terms will run 2 or 3 years, depending on which cycle that's going to be. And then 2 years after that, cycling every 2 years. And we're also looking for alternates to be named. So the new membership structure allows for the identification of alternates for all our members, and most members have identified alternates, which is great. Thank you very much. And basically we just have a little bit of recruiting to do for our committees. We do have four standing committees, and one is governance, which I'm on. Monitoring and evaluation is another. Services coordination and planning. And we're looking for committee members to step up if they have the time, effort, energy, desire. We have members who have lived experience on their rosters or as candidates in all 4 of these committees. So that's a good addition. And we'll also be putting forward additional names for the governance and monitoring and evaluation. And we'll use the annual membership meeting as an opportunity to recruit more participation. And that's all I got.
Great. Any questions? Wes, thank you for that that summary. We appreciate that. Any questions from the board on this? See none. That was just an informational item, so we appreciate that very much. We're going to go to the next governance report or providing direction. This is an equity framework by LyVesha Franklin.
Yes. So LyVesha Franklin is actually a alternate to Tim here for the Leadership Council, and is also the co-chair of the lead committee. She has been working with the COC, and we had a consultant for a bit on COC equity framework since December, and she'll be here to present her initial recommendations for us to digest and hopefully we're seeking that you guys approve this for her to move forward on building out and presenting this at the annual summit. So I will stop sharing this. And LyVesha, do you want to share? I'm sorry,
no,
we didn't talk about this.
I was hoping you was going to share. I thought that's why.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. I have it ready to go.
Thank you.
No worries.
And I do apologize to everyone. I'm also on the doula subcommittee for the Maternal Mental Health Task Force, and we just got a break, so I'm kind of double tasking. But I've been chiming in. I love all of the work that you guys are doing, so thank you so much. And then thank you also for considering my recommendations for this work. I do want to say that this was a learning and growing and healing experience for me while reading and going through all of the information and doing the research and looking at the data. So I actually did a lot of praying and fasting, and I'm hoping that the information that I am presenting to you all today is received well and it's digestible, and we're able to move forward with the implementation, because I know it would be in the best interest of our community. So thank you so much for trusting in me to give these recommendations to you. So oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, just thank you.
Okay. So this is just a breakdown of the agenda of what I plan to share with you guys based on the information that I researched and pulled up. And so here, the agenda will be starting off with the levels of systemic oppression. And I'm going to highlight one of the guiding principles that you all have reiterated over and over throughout the Lead Me Home plan is the equitable and social justice oriented. And then I also tapped into, elaborate a little bit more on cultural competency and the importance of honoring both labor and land acknowledgements. And I created a few SMART goals to help implement the equity framework that I'm suggesting. Next slide, please. Okay, here's a more in-depth breakdown of the levels of systemic oppression that has caused, our country, our whole country, to be in such an unequitable state. The levels of systemic oppression include individual level. And at this level is a person's beliefs and action that serve to perpetuate oppression, both conscious and unconscious, as well as externalized and internalized. The interpersonal levels of systemic oppression, which is the interactions between both people within and across differences. The institutional levels of systemic oppression consist of the policies and practices at an organizational level that perpetuate systemic oppression. And then finally, the structural systemic oppression and how these effects interact and accumulate across institutions and across history. Next slide, please. And these words really stood out to me the most when reading the Lead Me Home plan. The importance of practicing an equitable and social justice-oriented service delivery. And I'm hoping that these suggestions continue to magnify this vision that I'm picking up from the Lead Me Home plan. Next page, please. So I'm a Black woman in this community. As you know, I wear many hats. I do many things. I love being involved in the lead council and things like that. And I've been in a lot of spaces where I hear the term cultural competency. And I do have to say that this is something that cannot be learned. It cannot be taught. It can only be experienced when you're talking about competency and from a cultural perspective. So realistically, cultural competency is representation without tokenization. And it's shared power structures in both policy making and fund allocation. And in the Lead Me Home plan, there's several marginalized groups, community groups that are areas of focus throughout the Leave Me Home plan. And then, but I think we need to look at that at a bigger lens, and also to edify, empower, and educate the most disproportionately affected communities to be able to give them the tools to effectively represent themselves. Next slide, please. The benefits of honoring both land and labor acknowledgements include this. I know I've been in a lot of spaces where the acknowledging the indigenous community and the land that was stolen is very important, and I truly appreciate that. And I would also like for us to look into how important it is to honor the time that was stolen from the lives of African ancestors who were stolen, sold, and tortured for generations and endured chattel slavery. And even though Monterey County has a very small African American population, it will really ring out loudly if we were to incorporate including the importance of both land and labor acknowledgements throughout the COC, including in the meetings and gatherings and publicly. And it has the potential to send a consistent message to both the service providers and the community members that equity is a top priority, and all residents are deserving of supportive services. Sorry, taking a deep breath because this is heavy information. So, as we all know, a labor acknowledgement is a statement that recognizes that much of the economic progress and development in a geographical area or industry resulted from the unpaid labor and forced servitude of people of color, specifically enslaved African labor. And land acknowledgement, as we know it, is a traditional custom that dates back centuries in many Native nations and communities. And today, many non-Native organizations and institutions have developed a land acknowledgement statement, often read at the start of formal events to recognize and respect Indigenous peoples as the original stewards of the land on which we now live, and the enduring relationships that exist between Indigenous people and their territories. Next slide, please. So right here, I have come up with a few SMART goals to help implement the equity framework. My recommendations would be to require service providers to draft and adhere to inclusivity. It says my internet is shaky. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Take a deep breath. You got this. This is great. Thank you.
You're doing great, LyVesha.
I'm trying to keep it all in a time frame, and and
we're ahead of
still
schedule.
Get it all.
Yeah, we're ahead of schedule.
Okay, great.
You're good.
Great. I know it's a lot of information, and I want to make sure I include everything because it's so important. So my recommendations would be require service providers to draft and adhere to inclusivity statements in both the hiring processes and the service delivery procedures. And this is something that can be taken care of by the Services Committee. Adopting both labor and land acknowledgements in meetings, websites, and on important documents, just to amplify that message. And one thing we know is repetition, consistency, that's how it becomes a habit. And we need to make it a habit of honoring and acknowledging all of the past oppressive trauma and circumstances that have affected so many marginalized communities. And that is something that can be implemented through the governance committee. To provide DEI, anti-Black racism, and trauma-informed trainings and literature for all members and staffs quarterly, both online and in person, in order to make sure that, you know, during transitions and turnovers, anybody who's on staff and practicing service delivery and representing the COC is very well versed in DEI, anti-Black racism, and trauma-informed trainings. And that is something that can be executed through the services committee. And again, reading through the Lead Me Home plan, it is a great plan. And I saw that there were, you know, 7 highlighted areas of focus, groups of focus. And unfortunately, you know, the African American population is disproportionately affected in these areas. And I do believe that there should be an additional area of focus. And this is something that I'm asking the Leadership Council to look deeper in the revision of the Lead Me Home plan, and including the disproportionate communities, African American communities that are affected by homelessness. And also the continuous evaluation of demographic data to identify disparities in access, utilization, and outcomes within the homeless response system. There has been data that has come out even since I drafted this presentation that shows that there is a gap in service delivery for the African American community. And this is something that can be implemented through the monitoring and evaluation committee. And last but not least, the update to the CARS assessment tool and prioritization policy to be made more equitable. And as we all know, that's the CARS is is currently in an overhaul process. So we can actually look more closely at how we can update these assessment tool and prioritization policy so that we fill all the gaps and cracks of what's the current process. So that is my recommendations in a nutshell. Like I said, that was a healing process for me, and I hope that I was able to deliver some good enough information that we can actually start executing something and showing the community that equity is a priority.
Thank you very much, LyVesha. We really appreciate your time and effort and your thoughtfulness and you know, leading up to this presentation, and also for presenting today for us. You were very on point, concise, so good job on that as well. I just want to open this up for questions from the board on this equity framework. And Katrina, could you explain, so these recommendations will be part of the summit?
Yeah, so yes, so we're seeing we want to see, make sure that you guys feel comfortable with the recommendations that are here on slide 7, and moving forward to implementation mode, and then having this be presented either at the annual summit, after we get more feedback from you all, as we are seeking the Leadership Council members to, some of you to volunteer to collaborate with LyVesha in finalizing this, so that we can have a full release of this at the annual summit.
Great. So I would say this is a good first read, because the first time I think all our board has heard it. So maybe before October, maybe at our next meeting, we could just give it another opportunity for folks to give input in writing or during our next meeting as well. Just so we have at least a couple opportunities to contribute to.
Perfect.
Okay.
So we like I said, I'll send this out to you all after this meeting so that you guys can really take your time with it. Like LyVesha said, this was a heavy PowerPoint, but it has some really obtainable goals that we can really work towards if we start moving it to implementation. And through that email, if anybody wants to join LyVesha and CHSP staff in solidifying this framework and start moving it into implementation after our next full read.
Great. Any other questions or comments from the board at this time? I don't see any hands raised. So LyVesha, thank you. I know you're multitasking today, so I thank you for giving us some of your valuable time to present today.
Thank you, LyVesha.
Thank you. We'll go to our last item now, everyone. This is, I believe, item number 8, system coordination of the CARS overall update.
Yes. So, first of all, I think we have some members in here today, members in here today that are part of the CARS Overhaul Working Group. They have been meeting on a monthly basis, really going through the findings and recommendations for implementation. So, Home Base is working on this project with the CHSP staff, and we are in the process of identifying the full implementation steps. Because it's a whole entire process, we don't want to change everything all at once because it will just break the whole network. So we're piecing out, just like we're doing with the 5-year Leave Me Home plan. We're taking obtainable actions to move this process forward. So we are looking to have a full plan ready for you all for a first read in our August meeting. So we're moving towards, and that's just a down and dirty update on where we're at in the process. And thank you to everybody who has participated in the focus group and individual interviews, and that information feedback was very important to us moving this process forward.
Questions on this item, anyone? Don't see any, so thank you for that update. Any last announcements before we adjourn today? We finished sooner than expected, so that's a good thing. Kept it at an hour. But is there any other announcements before we adjourn for the meeting? When is our next meeting planned? Katrina, I mean? Yes,
you're on it. Our next meeting is scheduled so it's June, so August 28th.
All right. So on those items that, if you could give it some thought, so we can pick up some of those discussion items at our next meeting as well. I don't see anyone with their hands up for announcements, so I want to thank everybody for your time today and for getting through all these agenda items. We'll see you at our next meeting in August.